Anya was one of the few survivors of the vampire's attack. She had been sleeping in her bed when the creature had entered her room. She had fought back, scratching at the vampire's face, but it had been no use. The vampire had overpowered her, sinking its fangs into her neck. As the vampire fed, Anya felt a strange sensation spreading through her body. It was a cold, tingling sensation that filled her with dread. She knew what it meant. She had been bitten, and she was doomed to become one of them. Anya fled the village, her heart heavy with despair. She knew that she would soon transform into a monster, a creature of the night that preyed on the innocent. She could not bear the thought of harming others, especially her loved ones. Anya wandered the countryside, her mind racing with thoughts of her impending transformation. She knew that she had to find a way to control herself, to prevent herself from giving in to her primal instincts. Eventually, Anya found a secluded cabin in the woods. She settled there, hoping that the solitude would give her time to come to terms with her fate. She spent her days studying the history of vampires, trying to learn as much as she could about her condition. As the days turned into weeks, Anya began to feel the effects of the transformation. Her skin grew pale and cold, her eyes lost their vibrant blue and became a dull, lifeless gray. Her once strong body weakened, her muscles wasting away. Anya knew that she was losing control. She could feel the darkness creeping into her soul, threatening to consume her. She was terrified of what she might become. One night, Anya could no longer resist the urge. She left the cabin and wandered into the woods. She found a deer grazing in a clearing and pounced on it. Her fangs pierced the animal's flesh, and she drank its blood. Anya felt a surge of power coursing through her. She was no longer human. She was a vampire. As the moon rose, Anya transformed into a creature of the night. Her body elongated, her nails grew sharp, and her eyes glowed with an unnatural light. She was beautiful, but there was a darkness within her, a hunger that could not be satisfied. Anya knew that she had to leave the cabin, to find a place where she could live without harming others. Anya wandered the countryside, her mind racing with thoughts of her impending transformation, her strength unparalleled, and her thirst for blood insatiable. Her latest target was Cypress Lake, a bustling city that had caught her attention. Anya's arrival was swift and silent, her presence undetected by the city's unsuspecting inhabitants. Under the cover of night, she began her reign of terror. First came the isolated attacks. A lone jogger, a late-night worker, each disappeared without a trace. Panic began to spread as the city's residents realized they were not safe in their own homes. The police, baffled and overwhelmed, were helpless to stop the carnage. Anya's appetite grew with each victim. She relished the fear and chaos she sowed, reveling in the power she wielded over the city. Her rampage reached its climax on a moonlit night, when she descended upon the city's main square. Thousands of people had gathered for a festival, unaware of the impending doom. Anya appeared from the shadows, her eyes glowing an unnatural red. With a blood-curdling scream, she charged into the crowd, her fangs bared. Panic erupted. People ran in all directions, but it was too late. Anya tore through the crowd like a whirlwind, leaving a trail of bodies in her wake. The city was plunged into darkness as terrified citizens fled their homes. Just as it seemed Anya would have her fill, a group of brave individuals, armed with stakes and holy water, confronted her. Led by a determined priest, they fought valiantly, but it was a futile effort. Anya's strength was too great. Anya, the newly turned vampire, stalked the streets of Cypress Lake, her thirst for blood insatiable. The city was her playground, its inhabitants her prey. She reveled in the chaos she caused, the fear that clung to the air like a shroud. But Anya was now alone. Unbeknownst to her, a coven of warlocks, led by the enigmatic Mocker, watched her every move. Mocker, with his silver hair and eyes like chips of obsidian, saw in Anya not a monster, but an opportunity. Her reign of terror was the perfect distraction, a smokescreen behind which they could operate undetected. The Warlocks craved power, and their dark rituals demanded rare crystals and gems, artifacts often locked away in museums and private collections. Anya's chaos provided the perfect cover for their heists. One moonless night, Mocker intercepted Anya in a deserted alleyway. He materialized from the shadows, his voice a silken whisper that echoed in her mind. "Embrace the darkness, Anya," he urged. "Sow chaos, let fear be your weapon. The city is yours to command." Anya, initially wary, found herself drawn to Mocker's words. He understood her, validated her newfound power. He offered her not condemnation, but encouragement. "We are not so different, you and I," Mocker purred, his eyes gleaming with an inner light, creatures of the night, wielding powers beyond mortal comprehension. He revealed his plan to her, the theft of a powerful crystal known as the Obsidian Eye, rumored to be hidden within the city's historical archives. Legend claimed it could amplify magical abilities tenfold. Anya, intoxicated by the prospect of further chaos and fueled by her own insatiable hunger, agreed to help. The night of the heist, Anya unleashed a wave of terror unlike any before. She attacked the city's power grid, plunging Cypress Lake into darkness. As panic erupted, Mocker and his Warlocks, cloaked in shadows, infiltrated the archives where the Obsidian Eye was supposedly hidden. Anya, meanwhile, created a diversion of epic proportions. She attacked a police station, tearing through officers with ferocious ease. The city descended into anarchy. Fires raged, screams echoed through the streets, and the stench of blood and fear filled the air. With the city's forces occupied, Mocker and his Warlocks searched frantically for the Obsidian Eye. They scoured ancient texts, deciphered cryptic symbols, and navigated hidden passages. Finally, deep within the archives, they found it, a jet-black crystal, pulsating with raw power, its energy almost intoxicating. The city teetered on the brink of collapse. News of the escalating chaos reached Luzerin and Evelyn. Luzerin, his face grim, knew he had to act. He turned to Evelyn, his voice filled with a desperate urgency. "Evelyn, you are the only one who can stop her. You must go to Cypress Lake and bring Anya back. The fate of the city, perhaps even the kingdom, rests on your shoulders." The cobblestone streets of Cypress Lake, once bustling with life, were now deserted, the echo of fear replacing the joyous chatter of its inhabitants. Torches flickered in the windows of shuttered houses, casting long, dancing shadows that mirrored the turmoil within. The townsfolk, their faces etched with fear and anger, huddled together, whispering tales of the monsters that had plagued their town. Evelyn, once a beacon of strength and kindness, now a creature of the night, a werewolf, cowered in the shadows alongside Luzerin. Her fur bristled, her fangs gleamed in the moonlight, and her eyes, once warm and inviting, now burned with a feral intensity. The transformation had ripped away her humanity, leaving behind a creature driven by instinct and haunted by guilt. Luzerin, his heart heavy with sorrow, watched the woman he loved struggle with the beast within. He clutched her hand, his touch a reminder of the bond they shared, a bond that transcended the curse that had befallen her. He knew that Evelyn was not to blame, that she was a victim of forces beyond her control. Yet, he couldn't deny the fear that gnawed at him, the fear that the woman he loved was lost forever.